A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's another beautiful day, and wherever you're listening to us from, we hope that you are having a great time on radio with us. This is Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, and we are the radio experience you can always count on. This is the I Wish I Knew radio program and drama brought to you by Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, with support by National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons and funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark. It's always a beautiful time on radio to talk about things that matter, things that concerns you and I, things that deserves and requires our attention. And it is in our place to also put, pressure on necessary bodies and authorities to also, protect us, protect the future, protect the children when it comes to the issue of human trafficking, which is a serious and dangerous issue in our society today. And that is why this program is coming your way every Saturday, so we can talk about, this program, this problem, this issue, and find ways to be of help. My name is Dilto Joan, and I will be your host on the program today. Now, today we'll be looking at the topic human trafficking in conflict zones, and we're talking about how this is an invisible crisis. That when we talk about crisis, when we talk about conflict in different parts of the world, most times people do not look at the human trafficking angle that goes on in most of the scams that goes on with victims that are displaced or victims of crisis prone areas. So today we're going to be looking at how this is a serious issue that requires intentional attention, so that we can bridge the gap and ensure that people who are already going through a lot, having to deal with the crisis, having to deal with being displaced, having to deal with losing their loved ones, having to deal with losing their properties, do not have to still go through, the heartache of dealing with the menace, dealing with the issue of human trafficking at the same time. So in the shadows of war and the ruins of conflict, there's always a silent trade that thrives in a lot of camps. When women, children, men are stolen, are sold, and silenced. Now, today we are going to be looking at that. And in this first part, this is just going to be the part one. We're going to be talking more about it subsequently and even bring more guests to discuss on this issue. And in this first part, we'll just explore what trafficking looks like in conflict areas, why it thrives, and who is most at risk. Now, before we go any further, we have to understand the problem. That conflict is something that tears apart systems, okay? So in war zone areas, we have law enforcement being weakened, we have communities that are being displaced, and we have people that are desperate. Now, traffickers dwell on desperation, and traffickers strike when there's little or no law enforcement in place, when communities are already displaced, and of course, like I said, when people are desperate. Over time, we've seen that different countries in the world, like Syria, like Sudan, like Ukraine, like Libya, like Yemen, and even some parts of Nigeria, have had to deal with, different kinds of crises, where we have armed groups, criminal networks, and even some peacekeepers implicated in trafficking. Now, these victims are now then forced into labor, they are forced into sexual slavery, child soldiering, and early marriage. According to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, that is UNODC, conflict zones create a perfect storm for trafficking. And refugees and internally displaced persons, the IDPs, become easy targets. So let's look at a few stories of on ground stories of human trafficking in internally displaced camps. And let me start off with a story. It says here that it is a story of a girl called Miriam. Of course, we're not using real names to protect their identity, of course. She's a 16-year-old girl that was abducted by an armed group in a state here in Nigeria, and she was forced to marry a soldier. So she was taken from her village when the fighting started, and she worked for days with others, she said. She said they would protect us, but they said they would protect us rather, but instead they sold us. I was given to a man who said I was now his wife and I had no choice. I was 16. Miriam's story is one out of thousands, out of millions stories that are on ground at the moment. In conflict zones, the usual systems that protect people vanish due to many reasons. Sometimes there's no structure. Sometimes a lot of people are not even concerned. The government, people who should really pay attention are not really looking into, what goes on in some of these camps. So, very little attention or protection is given to these people. So trafficking doesn't just affect the girls, but boys are also trafficked and recruited into militias. Women are trafficked for domestic or sexual labor, and then the men in some of these camps are exploited for forced labor. All of these are forms in which human trafficking takes place in some of our camps. Now, what is the invisible crisis? First, the chaos of war makes data collection difficult. And when we do not have data to work with, it makes it difficult for little or any change to be accomplished. Secondly, victims rarely come forward due to stigma or even fear. So you're in a camp where you are not sure how people will take the information you're ready to share. Or maybe a lot of people are even going through it and everybody is rather using a blanket to cover the situation than bringing it out in the open so that real conversations can be had, and then necessary actions can be taken. And of course there is fear of being killed, fear of being some form of harm being done to them. And thirdly, we have that humanitarian workers often focus on basic survival. That is providing of food, providing of shelter, providing of water. And this is so true. When it comes to IDPs, when it comes to all of this, people are always just focused on, do they have a place to stay? Do they have food to eat? Do they have clothes on their back? And you do not blame these people sometimes. They have little or no help at all, or they have limited hands, and most times they're trying to handle the kind of problems they see at the moment, the kind of problems they feel they can address at the moment. And while all of that is going on, trafficking remains hidden, trafficking remains ongoing in the background. What drives trafficking in some of these conflict zones? Let's quickly look at that. There are several key drivers to why you would find human trafficking thriving in conflict zones. Poverty and desperation is is one of those key drivers, and we know that anytime there is crisis, there's a lot of destruction, there's a lot of demolition, there's a lot of lives and properties, and you leave people in a place where they are now wanting so much. They are wanting food, they want houses, they want shelter, they want clothes on their back. And the moment someone gets hungry, they become desperate, because they would not want to die of hunger, of course. So they become desperate and they would want to get money, they would want to get funds, they would want to get resources, any means possible. Another key drivers to why human trafficking thrives in conflict zones is the lack of law enforcement, which is something we had established, at the beginning. That little or no attention is being paid to most of these areas, and even if they pay attention, like I said, is always food, shelter and clothing. So because there's little or no monitor, there's little or no attention being paid, a lot of things happen on the ground, a lot of things happen underneath, and there is nobody to even see it, not to talk of calling it out to say, this is a problem, how can we go about it? So because of that issue, a lot of perpetrators can go about carrying out their activities with nobody to hold them accountable. And even when we all know in a camp that this person is doing that, this person is doing this, or this person left and never returned, there is nobody to hold them accountable. There's nobody to arrest. There's nobody to investigate. There's nobody to call or raise the alarm. So that is another reason why trafficking thrives. Then we have gender-based violence, where a lot of people are considered, oh, you're of little or no importance, you're not allowed to speak, you're not allowed to do this, and everybody feels, oh, she's a woman, okay, her body can be used to do this. Oh, he's a man, let's force him into labor. Oh, let's give them guns. They are little children, but he's a boy, he can handle a gun, let's give him gun and just send him forth. So that is also a major reason. Displacement is one of them, and I think it ties into poverty. When you're displaced and then you don't have anything to work with, what you used to have is no longer yours, and you have to start nearly everything from the scratch, from nothing. And then we also have armed group funding through human trade. Okay, that is another key driving factors to why we have a lot of human trafficking going on in conflict zones. Now, in some cases, even peacekeeping forces or corrupt authorities have become complicit, where the people that should be putting an eye for us, the people that should be standing and fighting, the people that should be defending us, the people that should be calling out some of these perpetrators, who should be bringing the attention of government, attention of security agents, or even the security agents themselves that are on ground at the moment, are then joining hands with perpetrators to be part of the trafficking, so that they get portions, they get percentages out of it, or they are even the ones setting up a ring and trafficking people out of these camps. So, what is the role then of international community? We're going to be talking about some of the solutions now to how we can solve the issue of human trafficking in IDP camps. But before that, I would like to open the phone lines in case we have any callers listening right now and you want to lend your voice. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Nigeria is a country that has had to deal with a lot of crises in different parts of the country at different points. Just recently, we had killings in Benue and all of that. And I was going through the news and I saw that it was said about I can't get the figure correctly right now, but a certain percentage of a certain figure was given of women in the IDP camps in Benue that have gotten pregnant. And it's scary because you would think that, in those camps, it's just a place where we're momentarily keeping some of these people till we figured out something better, till we figured out a safe haven for them to go back and then get back to their lives. And some of these women are not married. Some of them are married, but their husbands are not in camp. So who is getting these women pregnant? What becomes the fate of the children that are being born in these camps? How long are these people even staying in the camps, and to what extent is the effort being placed to ensure that these people come back to their lives? Because if not, then they grow these children, then they have to raise these children in these camps with, limited resources. And when they don't have a lot to take care of their children, remember we spoke about desperation. It comes into play, and anyone who is desperate can do anything to solve anything. The numbers to call if you have anything to say, if you want to lend your voice on what we've said so far, is 090 87 66 8888. Again, the number is 090 87 66 8888. You can also call our second line 090 73 53 0044. Again, the number is 090 73 53 0044. If you would rather send us a text message or a WhatsApp message, our line is open on 090 97 05 4450 090 97 05 4450. And in case I forgot to mention, we are live currently on Facebook and YouTube at Eagles FM Abuja. At Eagles FM Abuja, go there, like, share and leave a comment for us, and we would surely, revert back. And of course, that this program is a way of intervening in the issue of human trafficking, and would always say, if you have any complaints, if you have any concerns, if you have any information at all that you feel is relevant as it concerns the issue of human trafficking and how we can join the fight to do something about it, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Again, let me share our number that you can drop maybe a message to, and we will follow up to know how we can be of help. Again, the number is 090 9705 4450 090 9705 4450. Now, while we wait for your calls, I had mentioned that we were going to look at what can be done to solve the issue of having to deal with those in IDP camps, those under some form of humanitarian interventions, having to deal with the issue of human trafficking, and the fact that this is on the rise because a lot is going on. I mean, look at the news: Israel, Ukraine, Iran, Nigeria. So much is going on in different parts of the world. So there is an urgent need for us to join hands to do something about it, because at the moment the world, some parts of the world, is going under some form of pressure, and with all of this crisis comes, of course, people that are getting displaced on a daily basis. And if we do not do the necessary thing, if we do not take the necessary action, this means more money for perpetrators and human traffickers, and this means more lives being destroyed and being put at risk. Now, what can be done? Let's look at the role of international communities now, and even national communities. In Nigeria, we have communities like NAPTIP and MICAT, which are solely behind this program. And these organizations over time, over the years, have been able to put their feet down to create awareness, to build protection systems and rehabilitation centers like IDP camps, to strengthen border controls and all of that. These people have done a lot of work in putting in necessary actions, and NAPTIP and MICAT are not the only ones. There are other, privately owned organizations that have also, joined hands, joined efforts to do the work. But these people are limited on a lot of things. They are limited on resources, and like I said, crisis is still ongoing, so there are many conflict zones that need to be covered. And aside from, having a lot to cover, some of these areas are dangerous. And if they're dangerous, help cannot easily just be accessed in some of these places, because the safety of this, people is also very, very important. Let's pick this call. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Please, who are we on to?
This is Bayo calling from Turkey.
Sorry, we didn't get the name, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, the name again.
I said this is Bayo from Turkey.
Bayo. All right, Mr. Bayo, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I want to talk regarding to the discussion regarding to how to curtail the issue of human trafficking. And it's a good topic to have been brought at this hour when people are at home, so that people could listen. And those of us who are listening, we could also sensitize those around us. And by virtue of those who doesn't have radio, extend to our hearing to those our neighbors, so that we'll be conscious of what is happening around us. More especially, it's not quite some time now, about 4 months ago, it happened within 30 years. Within my landlord relations, whereby we should be careful of those people we take into our houses as tenants, as single women who must get their backgrounds and their record and probably their pictures. And then two individuals coming to stay as a single lady. and then suddenly you disappear with children. It will be something that will sensitize Nigerians that this is a new trend that is happening. You have been hearing this in Abuja recently on radio. Now it is within various communities. They have gone back towards communities and other states.
Oh, yes.
So we should, national orientation agencies should come into this. They don't know what they are doing. All this thing has become the occurring decimal. And the informations are always spreading their news.
Yeah.
Yet we don't know what they are doing. Tell Nigerians that it's a new trend that they have gone through. They come in as a tenant and by virtue of sharing and showing love, before you know it, they disappear with people's children.
Oh, yes.
And we find it difficult to face it.
Yeah.
So we should be conscious of all these things. And these people are being carried out by virtue of human trafficking agents. So we should be careful about these things. Desensitize the families, churches, religious bodies, the chiefs, history of various communities to make this known to those people within their community.
All right.
Call them for community meetings and get them informed.
Yeah.
Churches to sensitize people that these are the new trends. And as the medias are also anchoring on it, we should not relent on our individual effort to make sure people are aware of the new trends.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
you so much for your time,
God
Mr.
bless
Bayo. God bless you too. Thank you.
And you too.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Well, Mr. Bayo has pointed out a lot of important things when it comes to what we as individuals can do, when it comes to the fight on human trafficking. He mentioned certain leaders, religious leaders, certain institutions taking up their place to, raise concerns. He raised the issue of landlords also, being sure who is staying in your houses, get basic information so that you know who is staying, who is living in your houses. He also called on, government organizations, institutions like National Orientation Agency, to raise awareness. And it's really important that we look into all of this, because if one person is doing the effort and the other person is not doing his part, then it's almost as if the aim is defeated at the end of the day. So I'm still asking you listening to me out there, what do you think we as people, we as Nigerians can do to support the fight, to be able to curtail the issue of human trafficking in our society? And like I said, what can you suggest is an approach to handling the issue of human trafficking in our IDPs and in crisis affected areas? Okay, like I said earlier on, it is an invisible war, but let's not make it invisible anymore. Let's remove the veil and see what can be done. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. We can hear you. Okay. Please do well to call me back. Can you hear me now? Okay. Do well to call me back. The numbers again are 090 87 66 8888 or 090 73530044. We just have a few more minutes to go, and like I had said before we picked the call, that there is a need for excuse me, that we have organizations in place that are putting in efforts to make sure that this war is won, but they are limited in certain areas. And just like the UNHCR said, it said that we need stronger collaboration between humanitarian response and anti-trafficking programs, which is true, because it's almost as if there is a divide. Like I said earlier, one hand is doing the work, the other hand is not, and we need both hands to come together. What can we do as a people? Awareness is the first step, towards getting anything done, because with awareness comes knowledge, and with awareness comes information. So you're out there listening to this program right now, and you probably didn't think that human trafficking was such a big deal. Now you know that it is thriving even in this century, even in today's world and in today's reality. You've listened to this program before, and you know that now they've gone digital, that they're using, social media, they're using our phones, they're accessing our children through some of these platforms. Now you know. Now you know that a lot is going wrong in crisis prone areas. Now you know. So awareness is always the first step, because when we talk about all of this, we're not just saying it so that it gets thrown into the air. We're saying it so that the hearts of people are awakened to the realities, and then we now know what steps to take next, which is something we've also talked about on this program. The certain areas, the certain communities you can join, the certain organizations and institutions you can call on to make use of your information and get something done. Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear us? Hello? Okay, I'm so sorry. I guess the network is not too stable, but we could hear you clearly, and we appreciate your calls. We have another call coming in. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Hello, can you hear us? Hello, sorry, we didn't get your name.
Lord David, yeah.
Okay, David, please go ahead. Hello, David. Hello. Okay, I'll have to let you go, David. I'm so sorry. Somehow we can't get to you at all. But we're glad you tried reaching out. Let's see who we have here. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you. This is Bayo calling back from Texas.
Okay, Bayo, please go ahead.
Thank you. I forgot to add in some little things that happened some months ago. I was involved.
Okay.
And I made sure that I followed it up. There's certain things that are happening in our environment which I'm not aware. There are some individuals who seem to take pleasure in having to have affairs with people with mental illness who are females and probably pregnant them, and then probably come behind and snatch the children. I followed it up within the environment when it happened. I was called upon. I followed it up, and we took it to the police. The woman was so showing clearly to the woman who was in that victim, but the woman has a motive behind. When the child had, when the woman gave birth, came behind and took the child.
Oh, wow.
We never knew that this woman within the environment is a strange woman. So when I was called upon, we followed to the station, and we discovered that police are also having hand in it. Yes. Until when they discovered that I was following up, because some of them knew me, that I used to follow up some cases.
Yeah.
So there was no way they could go about it. Now they brought charges for the family of the relation. We were able to contact the family of the relation, and the child was released to the family of the relation. And the person now started claiming that they have to pay a certain amount of money. When all the plan wasn't working any longer. And we discovered the police were trying to hand over the child to the person, the same person that they don't even relate to the family, with different tribes and a different woman environment. So it's quite unfortunate that with the police, we have bad eggs among them.
Oh, yes.
So we should try to make sure we sanitize this area of the police.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. Have a great day, Mr. Bayo. Well, just like he said, we have bad eggs. We do have bad eggs everywhere. And thank you, Mr. Bayo, and to everyone who is listening, who has, put out an effort, to see that something gets done about issues like this. And, he's saying something about people who probably are going through some form of mental issues, and then you see them pregnant. I have seen a lot of cases like that. And then later you don't know where the child has gone to. Someone came and maybe kidnapped the child, or the child is being used for trafficking, or for some, very deranged reasons. And that is why it's important that, if you're looking for where to, join hands, who to join hands with, if you're listening to me right now, best believe that Eagles FM is on that train with you. You can always send us a message and let us know. Best believe that MICAT is on that train with you, and also NAPTIP, okay? And there are many other organizations, that you can support. Those are ways we can, aid the fight, aid the help that is being rendered. Another way would be that if you have a means of donating, if you have any means of, maybe putting in resources, money, you could volunteer your time, to go to some of these places and, do something that can benefit the people there. You can raise concerns about, child protection, speak against sexual and labor and, forced labor. Speak about some of these things is really important. And another way would be for us to really spread stories of survivors. When we listen to people who have gone through this and they've come out stronger and better, it gives us hope that our efforts are not being just misused. And also there might be someone listening that they don't know where to start from. Having to hear someone who has gone through all of that and is still out strong and alive gives them a reason to want to speak up and do better for themselves. And also it would be a great time for us to always advocate for our government, to come up with responses that benefits the people. So if you have representatives, senators, do well to always reach out to them. Do well to, send, messages. They are there for a reason. They are there to represent you. So do well that you're always sounding it in their ears that this is an issue and you cannot let people under you, people in your constituents, be going through modern day slavery. It doesn't work and it shouldn't happen for any reason at all. So as we've seen today, human trafficking doesn't pause during war. In fact, it gets worse and it only thrives in the silence of chaos. So let's do better. Let's stay informed, read the news, always go and know what's happening and do better for yourself and for your society and of course Nigeria at large. My name is Dilto Joan. It's been a pleasure with you on radio today. Do well to join us next time, same station, Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, where we would be bringing this program your way again to discuss about human trafficking. Special thanks to Mikat, NAPTIP and of course the Danish Embassy for bringing this our way. Keep listening to Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja.